Welcome everybody to my Neurodivergent Soul podcast. And I am delighted to have here with me online Alex Cunningham, who works with Talismans and has done much work with neurodivergent individuals. I'm so excited to get to know your story, Alex, but also we're going to go through an exploration together about creating this talisman, and I'm going to have one created for me, which is I've never had that experience at all, and it's going to be very interesting doing this online because it's a creative process. But tell me, Alex, let's go to the beginning. Where are you from? Who are
Gosh.
you?
Yeah. I am someone who spent a very long time living a life um, according to others' rules. That was pretty much
Yeah.
my experience of life, particularly work life. I think I went into certain elements of work because I felt that was what was expected of me, and yeah, and noticed that if I kept, if you like, getting a promotion, or if I took this next job, I didn't see how I was ever going to leave that, and so I shifted um, through different fields, and it just never really felt like me. I had some times when I was maybe doing some work which was connecting to my more about my soul, more about my values, if you like. I worked for Headspace at one point, which was a really lovely time, and other mindfulness organizations. And then when I hit 40, I was doing a job I hated, and my mum was, I think, on a phone call on my 40th birthday, asked me if I would ever enjoy that job. And the answer was no. It was just absolutely no. And that was the point when I took some time out, and I called it my mindful midlife crisis. So I didn't buy a bike with Lycra, I didn't buy a motorbike or a sports car. I bought some training, and I taught myself how to teach mindfulness and compassion. So I've been interested in meditation for quite a long time. I've been part of a school of meditation in London from my mid-20s, so already meditating a fair amount, but not. I didn't know as much about mindfulness until later.
Right. And where did that then lead you? What did you create from that?
So the biggest thing that really happened that's led to what we're going to do today is that in the pandemic, I didn't know what to do. It was one day you're, doing face-to-face sessions, and the next day that's not possible. So I bought myself one of these. I got myself a Zoom. I got myself an account, and I just decided I am going to offer sessions at a regular times each workday for the next however long it takes. And so I ran 4 a day for the first year, and since then it's varied a little bit, but I'm currently doing about 12, and it's been 6 years next month that I've been running them. And I think the holding of the space for others and the creating of that space for me has been an opening to something a lot bigger than myself, and has led in different ways to this new offering, this sort of modality that I've put together and sort of created from all of my areas of inspiration.
And so you say you've created this yourself. This is your modality.
Yeah.
You've developed it.
So I always like to have a little hat tip to a lady called Steph Zagorski, who's on YouTube, who has a channel called, I think it's now called House of Scrying, and she does these amazing ink blots, which are very sort of, she uses one sent in words of inspiration. She creates an ink blot quite quickly, and then she reads it. So hers is, it's more of a reading and a divination from that. But she was the one who got me onto the idea of creating something by blotting words. That was where it came from. But the sort of playing of it at my end was about, no, there's something that's more of a journey in the way I want to do this. So it's taking someone from a place of a starting point, maybe a bit more challenging, to seeing it in a different light. And only, I'd say, the last couple of weeks, I've started to think of myself as a bit of an alchemist in that respect. It's like a modern
Right.
day alchemy. And that's quite scary to say, particularly with my first 40 years of, how will that be seen by others, side of my brain.
Oh, I totally understand where you're coming from with that. It's sometimes naming ourselves as something a bit unique or different or is strange. I call myself a soul cartographer. I'm a
Well,
map
I love that. When
maker.
I saw that, I was like, oh, that's a really beautiful phrase. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of people wouldn't necessarily know what it is, but it's a map maker, somebody who and I create maps from the soul,
Yes.
you know, and the soul story, and help people identify a deeper meaning from that. So yeah, and when I first realized that's what I was, it was like such a moment. Yeah, the hairs stood up on my
Yeah.
arms, and I was tingling all over, and I was like, oh, I know what I'm here to do. But
Mhm.
how I was going to present that to others was I had to get over that hurdle and put it
Yeah.
out there and go, okay, I know what I'm here to do. But
Yeah.
yeah, how will that be received? Were you always creative as a child?
So
Did
this
you?
is where I think it's quite hilarious, is that
Mm,
if ever I do a little bit of art as an adult, uh, I get the same, if you like, criticism from my mum, or like it's
uh,
very like she just has no time for. It's not quite true, but yeah, no, I was not encouraged creatively
wow.
whatsoever. So there's a real sense of my inner child coming out to play that has been, wasn't able to do that in the past. I do make what I call mandalas, which is I build up patterns using circles and a
Yeah,
compass. And actually, my business is called the Mindful Compass, which feels very, it's not a million miles away from your soul cartography. Again, it's about
yeah,
sort of help. It is about direction, but the compass has two meanings. So it also represents the sort of joy I find from creating these sacred geometrical
yeah,
patterns
yeah.
um, with the compasses as well.
Oh,
But
how
no,
interesting.
it's interesting. Yeah, my mum will just sort of anything creative is my son's job. He's got a really good artistic eye,
Oh, great.
and that's never sort of something she would entrust to me.
And you give him a lot of permission with that, no doubt, and
For
encouragement.
sure, absolutely, yeah.
Let me come back to that, because do you think you didn't get the encouragement or what you needed where creativity was concerned as a child? And I think this is a familiar story for a lot of people,
Yeah.
sadly. Do you think you were creative? I mean, I think everybody is creative, but do you think you had a longing for that?
I would imagine so. I definitely remember times at school when I maybe got to do some pottery or something, and I've really quite enjoyed it. And
Yeah,
I think there was creativity was probably tied too much to success. You weren't creating just to see what comes up. You were creating to make something good. And if it wasn't good, then it was less likely to you might be okay. No, I'm better at doing. I know I'm going to get more approval from these things. Uh, and yesterday my son was drawing, and he showed me four various different things. He was drawing imagined bottles for potions, which came up in something he was doing, and they were lovely. They were really lovely. And the last one he showed me when I didn't have much time. We were trying to get out the door, and I said, "Oh, that's a really good first try." And I thought, that was a reasonably sort of even keeled, but he took it very personally. And he mentioned this looking for approval. It's not that moment at all. There's other things that are happening in our lives. It's not just that moment, but it was interesting that he talked about the need for approval, which we all have. And it sort of, yeah, took me back a little bit to my childhood, I suppose. But it wasn't in the same energy. It wasn't the same. I don't even think the tone was the same, but it achieved something maybe similar, which was
yeah.
a bit eye-opening for me.
So interesting, isn't it? And do you think you had other outlets for something that sort of flowed through you that it's hard to identify maybe, but did it come out in other ways?
It's a really good question. I honestly think that I did a lot of bottling up. Um,
Mm,
just that was what I had to do based on how things were at home and how things were
yeah,
at school. Yeah. So I
right.
think there may well have been a lot of that, but I think it was very much had to be put to one side for a long time. Yeah.
So you got into the sort of mainstream job and work.
Yeah,
And,
exactly. And did sport and things, tried to get sort of process things, I think, through exercise might have
yeah.
been part of it. But, I was in nature. I think that connection to nature has always been
Okay.
there. But it wasn't I'm out in nature and I'm connected to Mother Earth and all her creatures. It was, I think, just appreciating being in those
Yeah. Well,
spaces.
that's what that needs to be, isn't it, really? I
Yeah.
mean, and especially as children, I used to love being in nature most of the time. And I think a lot of it was just an escape from getting away from homework and housework or whatever it was. You know, I
Right.
didn't think of it as, oh, I am having this amazing experience or anything. It was just, I need to be out here. I need to be with animals and I need to be with the great outdoors. So yeah, how children perceive all of that is probably very different to how we do as adults, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah.
So tell us more about these talismans, and
Yeah.
let's focus on what you're doing now. And I can even some of our listeners won't see you, but your face just lit up as soon as I just mentioned that.
Yeah.
And you went,
Yeah.
yes, let's get on with
Let's
business.
do
This is
that.
what we're here for.
Yeah.
So what do you tell me what you're going to do?
Right. So this is, if you like, the the most strong example for me of alchemy. So the beginning of a session is to find something that the client is currently struggling with in some way, and it can go as deeply as the client feels comfortable with. So it's a one-to-one conversation, and that's what I'm going to get you to think about now for a moment. Is there something that you live with as an integral part of who you are, but it may be, limiting you in some kind of way. So a lot of the times these are sort of a limiting belief, um, but we can also go back to a younger self and put an arm around them and help transform something
Hmm.
that they were living as a younger version of you. Um, it can be, some people have talked about quite serious incidents that happened to them at a certain stage of their lives, and we put that in. And so again, just depending on how safe you feel, where you would like to go with it, and what comes up. I trust in that the right thing will come up for this particular
Okay.
session.
Wow, yes. What am I happy to share on this podcast? And that's
Yeah,
an interesting one, even in itself, as I know people will be listening to this. And we
yeah.
have people listening from all over the world listening to this podcast. So, what am I prepared to share? I am somebody who works with a lot of integrity with my work, a lot of passion, a lot of giving to this body of work that I've created. And still there is a difficulty sometimes in putting myself out there.
Mm,
And so I mean, I do, but I also have difficulty with it.
yeah.
I've talked about RSD on this podcast, rejection sensitive dysphoria, which is
Okay.
part of a neurodivergent experience, and fearing rejection. Um, I think that whereas in the past, in my business, I had a lot of people wanting to work with me. I had big workshops and facilitated a lot. And ever since lockdown, it's been much harder, which I think is true for a lot of people to, to be seen, to have your work respected, and have people wanting to join you in it, to understand it. So there's a kind of lack, there's a kind of scarcity. I think there's a lot of fear, and these might be mine totally. I'm not saying these are everybody else's, but there is something about not getting the fulfillment that I need, not getting enough people to workshops. I'm sure many people can identify with that. Putting the work in, putting the hours in, the days in, the months in, and still not quite reaching enough of an audience.
Mm, yeah.
And it's not that I need a big one, even, but I do need the work needs an audience. I don't necessarily need an audience because I'm very good at being on my own, enjoying my own company, being with my dogs and my husband and my family and my grandchildren. But I want my work to be appreciated. I want my books to be read. I don't know if anything's coming up for you in this, but
Yeah.
um, I want the work to be of support for others.
Mm.
And
Uh, So let me say something here, and because that is not quite there for you, what does that feel like, or what words represent the fact that it isn't there?
there's a sadness
Hmm.
for the work.
Okay.
There's a loss. I think I mentioned scarcity. There's a hunger. There's a hunger for
Mm,
something.
okay.
There's a longing for others to be helped, supported with this work.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
And do you
yeah.
feel some of that, what you mentioned, that is there a fear that RDS was RSD, was it that you could be part of what gets in the way?
Oh, I'm sure. I've always felt that, but I don't know if that's the truth. I
Okay.
don't know.
Yeah. So if you were to choose a word or a phrase from what we've been talking about, which is more connected to the block or what's not here than what we're aiming for. We're going to talk about what we're aiming for, and we'll tap into that
Yeah.
in the later stage, if that makes sense.
What are we aiming for?
No,
What am
not that.
I?
That's not what we're doing now.
Ah,
That will come now
yeah.
afterwards. But it's more about it could be RSD. It could be the fear of success or showing up. It could
Oh,
be
yeah.
the longing or there was another word which we put in as this is our situation now, and then we're going to build around it to create hopefully something that guides you forward.
I see. Yeah. Something that guides. Yes. So what is it now? The word unseen came to
Ah,
mind.
yeah, that's a great one.
Unseen
Okay,
or unrecognized.
okay.
Is
So
that
we've
okay?
got those two options. So if
Yeah.
when
Yeah.
you, so I'll say them back to you just so you can hear them from me. Uh, Feeling unseen, being unrecognized.
I'm going to say unrecognized because I think it's the recognition of what's actually on the table.
Hmm.
Do you know, yes, I am seen. I do feel seen,
Yeah.
but I'm not recognized with what I actually bring to the world.
Okay.
Yeah, would that make sense?
Perfect. All right. And
Mm.
so I've got a number of dark colors, and I like to put the first thing in a darker color. It's not that it is a shadow, but it can be shadowy. And it's not that
Mm.
it's dark necessarily, but it also allows us to see it clearly throughout the process. So I have things like a dark grape, a dark blue, a dark green, a dark brown, and I have various blacks as well. So I don't know if any of those are jumping out at you.
Say them again.
Dark green, blue, brown, uh, black, a couple of different kinds of blacks, and I think there's a dark grape.
I'm going to, because I'm wearing brown today, I'm going to say brown. And it's
Dark brown. I just literally
my,
pulled it out, which is really
yeah,
handy.
it's my color at the moment. And I'm very particular about my colors.
Okay, right. So in these spaces, so for those of you listening, I believe there is an intention to put this on maybe on YouTube as a video, so you'll be able to see more of what I'm doing. But for those of you listening,
Yes,
I'm
I'm
got a
going to
number
do
of
that.
ink bottles with me. Off camera, I am going to write this first word, which is unrecognized. And I'm going to just do a little bit of an opening. So just for Caroline and I to take a couple of breaths. And I'm going to welcome in any supporters who wish to participate in this with us. So from a spiritual point of view, uh, they can be guides, they can be a connection to source, to ancestors, whatever words most resonate. Is there a particular word that resonates for you, Caroline, in terms of that connection?
I think life force,
Life force. Yeah.
life force, the
Okay.
life force. Yeah.
So to all life force that will be useful for us in this process, please come and play with us, and the inks help guide the conversation, the words, the choices of colors, and the shapes that come forth in this talisman for Caroline today. And so it is. So the shamanic term hollowing out, I'm going to hollow out as best I can and allow this word unrecognized to come through and be written into your talisman as best I can, and then I'm going to blot it and show you the result. This is the first step. So if you want to um, take some quiet time, I think we're going to talk to our audience and just get them to connect to the same energy. You know, what does it feel like to be unrecognized? Uh, have you examples of that, times when you've been feeling unrecognized? And maybe that's what I get you to do actually, Caroline, is to talk about a particular moment in time when you felt particularly unrecognized. And I'm going to imbue the word that goes into the talisman with the conversation. That's sort of part of the idea here.
Mhm. Um, there have been times throughout my whole life where I've created something, or I've done something maybe a bit unusual, something that I have written, or maybe some poetry, or something I've created. And yeah, I think a bit like what you said, Alex, before, it wasn't recognized, it wasn't encouraged, it wasn't good enough. It was, yeah, just the shape, the color, the words. I could do better. And I think that's a word, a phrase for many of us from school, and certainly was for me, that Caroline could do better.
Mm. Sure.
um, but I've overcome a lot of that, I feel. But in later years, it was always the problem with Caroline is, that stands up quite strongly for me. From my mother would say that a lot. The problem with Caroline is,
Mhm.
and I recognize that from adolescence and growing up. Um, my different way of thinking, my different way of seeing was kind of a bit poo-pooed. It's a bit woo-woo. It's too new agey, even though I don't consider myself new agey at all. Terrified of being seen that way, that this was spiritual claptrap, that, and yet, I'm very grounded in myself, very connected to body and nature and the grit of life. But
Okay.
even so, there was an element of being seen as being a bit, yeah, as
Okay.
I say, too new agey.
Fair
And that's
enough.
not me.
Okay. I'm going to show you the results. So I've just blotted the
Please
first
do.
one. This is
This is
the color
exciting.
is called sepia Schwarz. So it's like a black brown. So it's very dark. Um, and then potentially as it gets mixed with other colors, we might see some more of the brown coming through. But this is your first blot, and I'm going to show you it as a sort of side A and a side B. So,
Oh, oh my goodness.
so
Wow,
that's
it's
what
gosh,
unrecognized looks like. I'm going to have to just change my view because I can't see myself and I want to be able to make sure it's
wow.
in the.
Gosh, I can't wait to put this on so that everyone else can see it as well on the
So when you see it, there was
yeah,
obviously a response to that. If you
yeah.
want to share how you feel, or if you want to share symbols or shapes that really talk to you, then please just
I,
mention them.
I'm seeing a dancer. I really am seeing a dancer,
Uh-huh.
and a real life force there. It's
Mm,
not ugly or scary, or it's just like, wow,
okay.
like coming into the world. I feel like it engages my fingers even. It's like, wow. Yeah,
And then so side B might feel different, and that's often the case.
feels like a deep dive. Like a diving into something is the first thought I have,
Yeah.
like diving into depths. And there's almost like two faces looking at me, almost like one that's going yes, and another that's going, oh, this is a bit scary.
Okay.
But it's definitely a dive.
Okay.
Yeah,
Perfect. Perfect. So there's absolutely for me, your response is exactly as it needs to be, and it will shift and change. So that's our base, and we've got a lot to play with. There's space in between the letters, as you would have seen if when you because you can see it. And what I'm going to do now is to take you on a journey to visit various Carolines, so that we can get more, not more, but actually some advice, some words of wisdom, some support and encouragement for how to befriend this energy of being unrecognized, how to shift it in some way, how to see it from a different angle. Let's see what particular journey that takes. So I'd like you to think of a time when you were really recognized. And you mentioned you've had workshops when you had lots of people coming, so it
yeah,
might be something like that. But when you're in the flow of that kind of work and there's lots of people there, they don't have to be saying how amazing you are, but
yeah.
there's it's more of an inner sense, isn't it? An inner sense of something.
I think the first thing that comes to mind is when somebody asks for my work, and somebody has invited me to their country or to their city or location,
Yeah.
And that is a beautiful feeling that, oh, you value this work and you want some of it.
Yeah.
And then actually being there's somebody going out of their way to invite me to their place, their home, their environment, and looking after me, helping me to settle in, and then engaging with the group that they have helped to organize, and meeting those people and people listening and wanting to hear the work that I'm sharing.
Yeah.
And that's the workshops and the seminars and all of that I would host and
Okay.
hold. And then there's people writing to me because they've read something in one of my books. That's such a beautiful acknowledgement when I hear what somebody has to say and how the impact has been on them and how it's affected them. And it touches me so deeply to know. I'm so grateful when I had an email yesterday, somebody saying they'd read my blog and how much it had touched them and how they resonated with it. And I just felt so blessed.
Yeah.
And another
Okay.
one who's just written my book, and she's just, I mean, there's so many of those,
Yeah.
honestly.
Okay. Well,
Um,
that's lovely. So we've got a rich
yeah, yeah,
experience of this. It's not the opposite of this energy that we've brought into the middle, but it's you've got plenty of examples there. I'm going to
yeah,
share a few words. When I share the words, it's an opportunity for you to say yes, that's it, or oh, it's almost it, and play with it, or don't like that at all, and you go in a completely different direction.
yeah,
But I heard invited in a way, but like the beginning of that, to be invited to share your experience and to share your knowledge. So that was one.
yeah,
Um, Something around the letters. I don't know if they're physical letters or messages, but it's the sort of it's feedback, it's exchange, something along those lines where um, people come back to you to share how much you've impacted. So it could be impacted them.
yeah. Impact is quite a strong, slightly heavy word. I love invitation because I love invitations, and I always use that word myself quite a lot. I invite people to
Yeah.
share with me.
And we're going to choose a number of words from various Carolines, so we don't have to be perfect with each one, if that
Okay,
makes sense.
sure, sure. I'm struggling to come up with another one.
We don't
Can
need
you?
to have another one. So, I mean, do you
Yeah,
like invited or
I
invitation? Let's see
like
if
invitation or
invitation,
invited. Yeah, invitation. I like
invitation.
that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. So, this is where I ask you to choose a color, and I'm then going to show you the options for that color. So, just let a color come through.
I want to say gold, but I don't know if gold can be included in this.
Absolutely. Yeah. You want to be
Oh, how
gold straight?
lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. We've got if I just got there we are. Right. So this is the gold.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah. All right. So
Beautiful.
it's a pretty bright gold for those of you who are listening,
Yeah.
as opposed to watching this when it comes to the video. And now my job here is to continue to not think about what I'm doing, to allow, if you like, the spirit, the energy of our interaction to come through me, to allow me to place this gold invitation and the energy of everything that Caroline spoke about just before that to go into that so that it shares that. Um, she was smiling a lot, by the way, for those of you who couldn't see her. So, like, smiling at the recollection of the lovely things when she's felt recognized, when she's felt um, some of that connection to people who've really benefited from her time or who really want to hear her talking and sharing her expertise. So, here we go. I'm just going to add that now. And if you want, yeah, tell me about one of your times when you've been invited abroad and um, yeah, how that was for you.
I had a beautiful experience once when a woman picked up my book, my very first book, and she read it and immediately got in touch with me and said, I want you to come to South Africa
Wow.
and teach. And previous to that, literally just a few weeks before that, my husband had been to Africa to film the Bushmen, the dancing doctors in Namibia. And I had seen his footage and I said, I have to go there. I really want to dance with the Bushman, and it was an absolute passion of mine, and somehow I had to do it. And I prayed and prayed and said, please find a way for me to do this. And then this beautiful woman decided to organize for me in South Africa within a month.
Amazing.
And and it happened. I went out there. I taught workshop after workshop. I went many, many times, did some beautiful work with the people there. It felt like almost like a second home to me somehow. It felt really in line somehow with the work that I was starting to bring into the world. And it's there, and this is a long time ago now, but it's there that the map started to develop for the work that I do today for Middle Earth medicine. And it's because of that eventually I did manage to go and dance with the Bushmen in the Kalahari Desert and take part in their ceremonies. So that was just, yeah.
So I'm getting a lot of tingles, a lot of hair standing up on end, just as I completed. So I've just blotted the gold,
and the gold. It's so interesting because we went out into the desert, of course, and we went. Also visited these incredibly huge sand dunes that were gold. And so that's reminding me of all the gold that was surrounding me at that time.
Right.
And the sunshine, beautiful sunshine.
Just trying to remember which way around. Okay, yeah, this is definitely the dance stuff way. So I'm going to show Caroline what we've done now by adding the gold to the shapes.
Wow.
So they start to interact. So we've now got a really bright gold interacting with some really dark brown.
Yeah. Nice. I love it. Feels very connected, really connected. And bringing light to the imagery.
On the second side.
Yeah. Amazing.
Okay. So I would like to talk a little bit about what you said about life force, and ask you to tap into times when you felt really connected and really at one with something bigger than yourself.
I think where I would feel that mostly is in the dance, when I'm dancing, and that could have been when I was a teenager in my bedroom with my little record player. It could have been in the youth club, and it could have been in conscious dance floors, 5 rhythms, all the different places that I have danced in connection with others, but mostly in connection with myself and with God, with spirit, and the life force. And what has, it's that like you talked about at the beginning, sort of that hollow state of just emptying out anything that's in the way and receiving something really just different, beautiful, wisdom filled, just knowing myself, knowing what's going on in a really expansive way, and a change in consciousness, I think. And the dance has been so profound for me in that way, and most of my writing and expression has come from that.
Okay, gosh, it's so rich that I'm going to struggle to get everything that I heard back to you, but I heard receiving, I heard emptying out, any element of the dance that you mentioned, conscious dance. Is there a word or a phrase from any of that that you would like to wrap into this unrecognized energy and help?
Yeah, I liked receiving.
Mm-hmm.
That's a beautiful word, isn't it?
Okay, beautiful. Okay, so what color would you like receiving? Either would you like it to be, or what color would receiving like to be today?
What color would receiving like to be? I think it's a sort of purple color.
Okay. So I have this purple, which is a mixture of a purple color with some old silver. So it's got a few silver flecks through it. I've also got that purple without any silver flecks in it. So the original purple would be a bit darker. Again, sort of that.
I think we've got to have the silver flecks in it.
The silver flecks.
Represent the dancer. Yeah.
Yeah. So receiving. Maybe asking you to it's hard to remember a particular dance, isn't it? Because we're not necessarily dancing. It's one of
Yeah,
my favorite things to do as well. We're not
nice.
necessarily, yeah, it's almost we're so present with the dance that it's not something that you remember so easily. But yeah, if there is a particular place where you've really enjoyed your dance, where you felt really connected to something, and you felt there is that real sense
Oh,
of receiving.
I do remember many dances of something quite profound happening.
Right.
And one of them was very early on in my conscious dance days. And I was at a very big workshop with, 150 people, I would say.
Wow.
And we're dancing across the room. And I remember being right at the center of the room. And suddenly I had this enormous amount of grief move through my body, that came like a sound, like energy stirring, and then erupting into the space. And at that exact same moment, the most profound feeling of joy. They came,
Wow.
and I could identify both of them and the way that they flowed through my body, but it was just incredible. Um, and I will never forget that moment, that sensation in my body where it was just like I was completely handing over to the dance, to spirit, to this something so much greater than myself, where I could just release. And it didn't really matter whether it was um, grief or joy. It just was. It was just this huge amount of energy.
Amazing. Okay. So we take this, we include it in the talisman, we invite its energy to be included here. Okay. So receiving has gone in. I'm just going to block and then I'll show you where we are. So we add that. So a lot of my work here is to just hold space. I'm not really, and find the right question, I guess. Allow the right question to be asked, to try and guide you to the right times, the right spaces, and then allow the talisman to come forth.
Love the purple in there.
Mm.
Wow. Yeah.
Okay, anything just,
Energy. I'm just seeing energy.
yeah.
Yeah. And more dancers. There's it's not just one dancer, it's many dancers
Mm.
almost.
Yeah,
And animals. I'm seeing different animals in there as well.
yeah, yeah. Do you want to call out a couple that you see?
I can see swan. I'm not sure what that one is, but it's rather interesting. It could be wolf, could
Hmm.
be a kind of wolf, yeah.
Hmm.
Um, and I'm owl. I see an owl.
Mm.
Yeah, and some kind of locust type, praying mantis, something like that. Is it praying mantis? I think.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay. Yeah, lovely. Perfect.
nice.
Do you have a connection to particular types of animals in the animal kingdom, for example? Like people talk about a power animal or a spirit animal. Has that ever been a part of your?
Oh yes, very much so. An
Very
owl
cool.
actually is
Oh,
is
okay.
a big part of my journey with that.
Okay.
And I have dogs, and I'm very fascinated with the whole wolf spirit. And yeah, my dogs have become quite a physical form of that. You know, the great teachers, and wolf
Yeah.
I always think of as the great teacher.
Okay.
And horse is a definitely a spirit guide for me. It
Okay.
always has been.
So if
Yeah.
we were to pick one who would be particularly helpful to work with the unrecognized original word and energy, which one would you like to include here?
Well, owl tends to move with the mystery in the dark, so maybe not owl.
Okay.
Um, wolf can often be the lone wolf, which is a bit quiet and on her own.
Hmm.
which I recognize in myself. So I'm going to say the horse,
Okay.
and the horse being very present, very noticeable,
Yeah.
very sturdy, very grounded, connected to the earth, very powerful.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Yeah.
shivers up my spine.
And 11 days before the year of the horse comes in, just as we're
Okay.
recording. So, right, what color horse shall we include in this?
Oh, I think a grey.
A gray. So it's a sort of light gray color like that.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
that's
so.
pretty much the only gray I have. But
No, that's fine. That's what I was thinking.
yeah. So tell me, go into that a little bit more for me. So the importance, why horses might be useful for helping you transmute, helping you shift this energy of being unrecognized.
I had ponies from an early age. I loved horses. I went riding, and I loved the connection, the smell, the touch of horse was really important to me. Um, I didn't like the whole scene of controlling horses and all the. So I used to just put a halter on my horse, ride her bareback, and we would just go galloping around the fields and
Mm,
playing. And it was a very beautiful relationship we had. And my older horse, later in life, when my children were young, she died. She died in my arms of old age. We
wow.
kept her till she was old. She died in her own field at her home, her head in my arms. And the moment that she died, I felt this incredible force of energy, this life force move through my body. It almost knocked me over. It was so incredible. And I had been told as a little girl by the nuns in the convent that animals didn't have souls. And one of the, which I totally disagree with, and one of the things that I remember thinking to myself in that moment, Sister Mary Edwards, you were wrong. I just felt the soul of my horse departing her body.
Mm,
And
okay.
it has informed so much of my work. So,
Wow.
yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to fess up that I started to write the word unrecognized again, which has led to certain interesting things going on with my
Mm,
creation of this. So I'm just adapting one last letter to make it as it should be. But it's interesting that that's how it came out for some reason.
yeah.
Right. So that's there. Okay. Interesting. I typically trust that these things which may derail us in other circumstances will be just as they need to be. So,
Yeah.
right. So we now have some light grey. Our horse energy has come
Oh, yeah.
to play. It's gone quite a lot over some of that darker brown, hasn't it? In terms,
It
some
has.
areas
Yeah.
there's a lot.
Yeah.
Looks
It's
like
brought
it's
light to it.
mm,
Hmm. Interesting.
okay, and the other way around. Oh, hold on, this was the first way. Yeah, I've done. I think this was at side A, wasn't
Oh, yeah. Softer somehow as well.
it? Mm,
Mm.
yeah. So
Nice.
we tapped into a couple of different ways that you feel connected to life force, to spirit, to the animal world. We've gone back to times when you felt recognized, you felt that exchange. Um, and I'd like to take you to a future self. So where the energy of our unrecognized that we put in the dark brown is lighter. It's maybe something you recognize, if you like.
Yeah.
However, it's not perhaps having such an influence. So it's an unknown future self. Um, Perhaps some of what was there in the past has come around in a different way or the same way, and you're in a place where that is it's part of you. It's something you continue to sort of need to be cared for, but it's easier. It's there's more flow to things. How do you think she would be putting an arm around you at the moment? How do you think she would be sending some support and reassurance.
The word that came to me was understanding.
Mm-hmm.
And there's something personal around understanding myself and where a lot of this has come from. And now that I understand my neurodiversity so much more, neurodivergence, so much more, but also there is understanding for what I've been talking about, this work, this, she's saying people, it's taking time for people to really understand what it is and how it can benefit themselves, the world, the communities,
Mm-hmm.
that for now there isn't enough understanding around it. Oh, that's,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Lovely.
And
Okay.
that's all it is. That's
Yeah.
all it is. It's just, it's not as understandable as it maybe needs to be.
Okay. Yeah. So understanding, understandable, which of the two is it?
Understandable.
Understandable. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Fab.
am understandable. The work is understandable.
Yeah. Okay. Right. What color would that like to be?
It's like a sort of orange,
Hmm.
but a lightish orange. It's not, well, it could be dark, but
Okay.
it's bright enough that there's a lightness to it.
Okay. So we've got a neon, which is very bright.
Ooh, not
We've
sure
got
about neon.
I've got various neons if ever they need to come through. I've got what is I think quite peachy and a metallic,
Oh, that's
and
nice.
then I've got I think what's called a flame orange, which is so
Oh, that,
like
yes,
so. Yeah.
that's the one. That's
Yes.
exactly it.
It's a great color. Right. Understandable. And so see what it's like. Imagine you're in this time, future time, and your work is understandable. What's there? What's that like?
Mhm. It's, I want to say wanted,
Mm,
but that feels a bit bland. And I
okay.
don't
Well,
want to use the word needed. There's another word instead of that. Um, required,
mm,
essential, necessary,
mm, yeah.
essential,
Yeah. We may keep hold of that and make that another word to put in a second. Actually, sounds.
essence. Yeah, I'm getting it from essence and innocence. It's essential for innocence to be reclaimed. Um, yeah, there's a very warm feeling and a smiley feeling.
Mm, lovely. Okay. One of the longest words I think I've ever had to put into
Oh, well,
talisman. Like it's still going, but nope, we're just done.
I do love words.
I mean, that's part of my background too. I've always enjoyed word games and playing around with words. So to have this as part of the work is a joy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Right. Understandable. And it's so, yeah, it's obviously feel due to the length of the word, the letters may be slightly smaller than some of the others, but it's going to have quite an impact on our design here because there's just a great deal of it. So let's see what this, it's called Flame Orange, this one, just so you know the
Nice. Oh, bringing
type
some
of it.
fire in. Yes, bringing fire into it. Lovely. That's exciting. Wow.
Yeah, I think there'll be something as well when we turn it around. I see a shape
yeah, I'm just thinking fire, I'm thinking energy, I'm thinking heat,
Yeah.
brightness,
Mm,
spark of life. Um, nice.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So I think there's definitely space for one more word, and I think a really nice question to ask towards the end can be, is there a word or a phrase that's missing? So in order to transform this unrecognized energy, the dark brown, we've added various words. So I'm going to go backwards so I can try and remember them in order, but we've done understandable in orange, horse in grey, and it was the purple. It had a bunch of different eyes. Do you remember that one?
Yeah, but I can go back over it and listen.
Yeah, we have to look back through. And then there was the gold, the first letter, the first word that came
Mm.
through. Hmm. Yeah, half the time I would normally have written those down, so I'd have a nice easy reference for you. But is there something you think, in addition to what we've done with the colors, the words, the energy we've imbued into this, that would like to come through and be the last addition?
Remembering,
Hmm.
remembering,
Okay. Tell me about that.
remembering both for myself, remembering who I am in the world
Hmm.
and what I have to offer, what my gifts are, but also others remembering the source of this kind of work, how important it is in our culture to remember who we truly are.
Yeah.
And that if we've in any way at all forgotten, then it's time to reclaim that.
Okay. Beautiful. So remembering, what color would you like remembering to be?
I think a sort of earthy green
Earthy
connection
green.
to the earth.
Okay.
I think to represent the earth, yeah.
So I've got light green. I've got what
Mm.
this is called macaw. It's metallic and quite bright.
Mm-hmm.
There might be a light green in my pen inks if I can just find it for you. You won't necessarily see the color until it comes out. I've also got a teal.
Oh,
It's a dark
mm.
teal, but it's a um, okay. So this is a light green, like you can see sort of in the top there,
Mm.
but it's darker when it goes on. You can see the ink itself is
I
darker. So
think a darker, yes,
yeah,
that's probably good. Yeah,
yeah. It's
yeah.
not really dark, not like some of them, but
No, but
it's it's
I get an earthy feeling from that.
okay. Perfect. All
Yeah.
right. So remembering, yeah. Do you have examples of when you feel like you remember yourself or you remember your soul?
I think that what I spoke about at the beginning, remembering the work that I offer and where it's come from,
Yeah,
remembering the things that I loved as a child, remembering things that were shared with me, said to me, parts of my story that I might have forgotten about or not even known, my birth story, not that I was there or could remember it, but the things that my mother told me about it, which wasn't very much, but how important that was for me to discover what I was here to bring to the world. Um, remembering the trials and the challenges, remembering the story that's unfolded over this 65 years and the importance of all those significant moments in my life and bringing them all to the table, that they all matter, that they all have meaning, even things that I might not particularly want to look at. They all have a meaning. They're all part of this journey and have helped me to be who I am today.
Almost there. Just couple of letters to go. I think almost every. I remembered one of them. Invitation was one of our earlier letters. Was one of our earlier words. Right. Just need a space for the G, and we are good. Okay. And this is it's an ink that's similar to the first ink, which means it spreads somewhat more than the other one, so it can create all kinds of shifts and changes.
Yeah.
Okay. Right, yeah, this is the first way round.
Oh my goodness, that's busy. Wow.
I can show you sort of close to as well, so
Oh
you've got
yes.
some of the detail in there. And
I
once you
can
get this
still
in your hands,
see
obviously.
I still see the dancer, and I see it encompassing um, so much life, creativity. Wow.
Mm. Okay, and we'll just go around the other side. And then the final bit of this, like I mentioned maybe off camera, off audio, is for me to add some white to this as a sort of a final
Yeah.
surrender.
Yes.
So as much as we had no idea what our conversation was going to be like, we didn't know what words or colors or shapes would come through,
Yeah.
we get to offer a final surrender to this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So anything on the second way around just to mention?
There's like that deep immersion into color and fabric and creativity and artistry, and the importance of that. Just I really feel like it mirrors that somehow, and the different life forms.
Yeah.
Yeah, and love. I can see hearts in it. I can see the love. I can see the broken heart. I can see, it's not just the beauty, but there's the ugliness as well, and the recognition of what's hidden and what's seen.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I can even see little arms reaching out and holding each other, and hands holding hands.
Yeah. Lovely. Thank you.
Mm.
Thank you. Right. So I'm going to put that down. And yeah, I think if anyone's listening and has resonated with any of this, just allowing yourself a little bit of reflection as we are finishing up now. We're going to take a pause in a moment. So my last goal, there are no goals in this. My last job is I'm going to sprinkle some white randomly. Quite often I do it from height, so I can't make a decision as to where it's going. And occasionally, though, I'll feel, oh, there really needs to be some there or something. But otherwise, it's just an invitation for life force and spirit to be the final co-creators of this work for Caroline. And I'm going to just have my hands flat on the piece of material. If you all want to close your eyes with me and just offer up a few thoughts of gratitude. So I'm very grateful for the everything that came before that allowed me to be here today to work with Caroline and to have this time. Grateful to all the helpers that may have come through to be with us, the life force, the animals, any connection to spirit, guides, ancestors that will have helped with finding exactly what needed to come through on this day to help transmute the original energy of being unrecognized. Enjoying a deep breath in, letting out an audible sigh or exhale. And we're going to just have a final reveal. What has the white that I call the final adjustments, spirit's final adjustments, what has it brought through?
Some like blossom. Mm.
just so show you some close-ups. So it sort of
Yeah. There's
covers
so
over
many,
certain bits, it lightens
yeah,
others.
yeah. So many faces and connections.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's a people have talked about sort of bringing the unseen
Yeah.
into being in a way that we can understand it or we can connect to it.
Yeah. 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 Uh, it's quite something, isn't it?
Yeah,
And it's all words.
yeah.
Oh, lovely. What a process. What a magical process.
Yeah, how does it feel? What's the, if there has been anything like internally in terms of a shift from the starting point to now?
Yeah, just things that have come up through the words and the sharing, and the idea of being unrecognized, but actually it's not just mine, it's a collective thing where and particularly as neurodivergent souls, with being unrecognized, and girls were unrecognized um, years ago. I've heard so many stories now about children and adults treated so badly because um, their particular traits, who they were. There wasn't a name for it. There wasn't an understanding of it. So they've been so unrecognized
Yeah.
throughout history, and we're only just coming to a place now of full recognition, and even that is being dismissed by a lot of people as well. There's still more understanding needed. And so, yeah, it's not just that, it's that for anybody who doesn't feel recognized in the world for who they truly are, which is something you described as well,
Hmm.
that it is time to step out and be seen. But it's not an easy place to come to in themselves. It's not always just a straight path into, okay, now I'm going to allow myself to be seen. It's, gentle steps, and it's finding out, well, what was it that stopped me from being seen in the first place? What's part of my makeup that has prevented that? So it's not just about me, is it? It's a collective thing.
Yeah, that's what it feels like in a way. Yep, this is
Mm,
for anyone to come along to listen to watch,
yeah.
to recognize the bits in them that feel unrecognized, and to
Mm,
tap into some of those really beautiful words that you came up with to work around it, to shift it, and yeah, show a completely different side to it, if you like.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Mm.
absolutely. Wow. Thank you, Alex. This has been extraordinary.
Thank you, Caroline.
Um, we're going to show this as a on YouTube as well, so that it can be witnessed and seen and
Yeah,
recognized.
yeah,
And so anybody listening to this podcast will be able to experience that, and also connect to you. Maybe they'd like to have their own talisman
that would be wonderful.
created
Yeah, yeah,
with
it's
you.
one of my
Yeah.
favorite things to do in the whole world. So yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
fantastic.
absolutely.
Amazing that you've come to that place of joy in yourself to know
Mm.
what's yours to bring into the world. And so we'll put all your details alongside in the notes, alongside this podcast
Yeah,
and video, so people can connect with you if they want
yeah.
to.
And
Thank you so
although
muugh for doing that for me today.
my pleasure, my pleasure. And I'll just say, since we used the word earlier, you already know Caroline, but she really enjoys the invitations. So feel free to, to reach out.
I
And
love the invitations.
yeah,
That's so beautiful. Thank you so much. Wow. So we've come back together now after our previous podcast um, with Alex, because what arrived for me in the post is the talisman that Alex painted, which is this. And it's beautiful. And as soon as I took it out of the envelope and have been sitting with it, I didn't want to do too much with it at first, because Alex, I wanted you to explain to me what do I do with it now? How do I relate to it, and what's it for? Um, so I'm fascinated with it. It really catches me. There's something very um, yeah, there's a real spiritual connection to it. I feel it is alive. It does feel very alive.
Isn't it? Yeah.
So, what do I do now? Now that I've taken out the envelope, now that I have it with me,
Yes.
tell me what's next.
And a lot of this will be what you feel drawn to do. I don't like to prescribe a great deal, but the
Yeah.
typical response is something that you had already, which is there is a sort of connection to it once you have it in your hands because the journey we went on has meaning for you,
Mm.
and now this is that sort of physical representation of it. And I would say I think about 80% of people who have one of these will likely put it in a frame.
Okay.
May not be with glass because they quite like the sort of the accessibility of it, if you know what I mean. But just have it so that it's
Yeah.
sort of um, yeah, secured, if you like, and then they frequently then go in a place where they can be seen, where it's sort of appropriate based on what that conversation was. So if it was particularly around work and things like that, then it's likely to be in near the computer, and so that they can glance up at it and interact with it whenever
Yeah.
they want to. Or if it's more to do with home, it might be hang up in the kitchen. That these it can be again. It's each talisman is different, and each person's sort of what they want to do with it is
Yeah, I think mine was very much related to work and relationships in a way, relationship to my work and to the people that I worked with. I think is what I.
yeah. I don't know if it's worth us sort of recapping what we went through because I've got the sort of summary of it.
Yeah.
That's sort of just to
Yeah.
repeat for
Yeah.
people.
Let's do that. Let's recap a little
Yeah.
bit.
So
I think that would
I
be
don't know if you want
helpful.
to. Do you want to hold it up for those that can see it, or is it so we can show them? I've got the image in front of me as well, which is useful. So um, you'll see that there's a darker ink, and that darker ink was the challenge, the difficulty, which was this idea that Caroline was feeling unrecognized in her work, or there were elements of that. I'm not going to be able to tap into the detail of that because it was we did that before.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
that's the first thing that goes in. That's sort of like the structure of the work, and it's always there.
Hmm.
It's not like we're magically making it disappear, but we are. Yeah, it's a part of you, and that's why it's done in a darker color so that it's easily visible. And then
Yes.
every other color is a word or phrase that we connected to through that conversation in the first podcast, which brought some advice, which brought some support in whatever way it was needed to work with that initial energy. So we went
Yeah.
through invitation. So when I believe you had invitations to travel abroad, to go and do your work from others, and that was something that was really dear to you. So we put that in gold. Uh,
Yes.
we've got receiving in the purple. There was horse, which was light grey. Understanding was the flame orange. And remembering was an earthy green colour.
Nice.
And the final part from my side is to the spattering of a little bit of white, which is randomly done so that we can completely surrender the final piece to be just how it needs to be, and it's not just me that did the drawing and of the writing and the blotting, but there's that co-creation between you, me, and spirit, if you like,
Yeah.
whatever the words we use to connect to spirit
Yeah.
in it. Yeah, yeah,
Nice. Nice. So yeah, that sort of yeah, and I've had a lot of thoughts about that process that I was on with it and what that really means to me and what's the part of me that feels unrecognized and what's the part of me that does feel recognized. And it's sort of letting go of some part of me that hides possibly because I don't recognize myself. And I think that's been a really valuable lesson for me. And I think for many of us, it's possible that we don't fully recognize who we are and telling our own story and bringing that out. So,
yeah.
and I think I'm on a whole new adventure. The very fact that this podcast is called A Neurodivergent Soul, which is a very new thing for me in the last few years, is starting to develop. So,
I'm curious on that side because we didn't talk a huge amount about neurodivergence in the first one. Is the part of you that's neurodivergent connected to a particular part of the talisman, or do you feel like that part of you is drawn to any of it?
Well, absolutely, because I didn't recognize, in the first word, unrecognized, I didn't recognize that my differences were actually neurodivergent, that I was on the spectrum, that predominantly autistic growing up that way as a child. It was unrecognized by my family, unrecognized by my school and the teachers, unrecognized generally for women in our society, and girls. You know, it's something that has been overlooked and wasn't even believed that it existed. And so in myself, I knew there were all these differences, and I'd put them down to a more shamanic understanding of life, which led me on the path that I've been on, which has been to really connect to the spiritual, to other dimensions, to the shamanic, and the dance and the drum within all of that. Mm-hmm. And but what had been unrecognized was indeed the neurodiversity within that. So it's given me huge benefits by not knowing, by being unrecognized, that I can now see a great advantage in, but also a disadvantage because of, you know, the child that I was and the difficulties that I had.
Yeah.
So and all the other words kind of fit with that. It's all part of that journey. The understanding, having to understand so much more. Yeah, I think there's a lot of value there.
Yeah, it's very versatile because that wasn't necessarily the topic, was it? It
It
wasn't about that,
wasn't.
but actually it applies on so many levels.
It does. And I
Yeah.
think that's the most important level that I hadn't quite grasped when we were first talking about it. So very, very important to have this talisman. And yeah, I'll keep it on my desk here and give attention to it when I'm doing my work and doing my podcasts. And I think it's going to be a companion on this journey.
Absolutely. I think it's a reminder. It's a reminder of the journey that we took in that first podcast, in that when we created it. And it's one of those things that, you know, perhaps when you're feeling a little out of sorts and not quite at your best, it's something you can then refer back to. And it's that sort of reminder of all of those positive energies and messages that we drew upon to surround that. And so when you are feeling unrecognized or feeling just sort of a little bit frustrated with whatever it might be that's going on, that's the reminder. That's the sort of, you can. Sometimes people even think of it as a bit of like it represents the journey in some, or the journey that we're on, the journey we've been through, the journey we still have ahead.
Absolutely. And what kind of things do other people say to you that they've discovered having their talisman? Are there any stories you can share with us? Obviously not naming people, but
I've got various bits of feedback, and generally I'm going to just quickly find one piece, which it'll take me maybe a couple of 30 seconds, 40 seconds, just because it was for her such a big shift. And again, I think she has a neurodivergence. There have been a lot of people with neurodivergence who've done them with me. I haven't sought that out necessarily. So it makes me curious, you know, what is it that appeals here? And I think, you know, this is not your typical experience. So perhaps that might be one of the things that does appeal. It's a way to work with yourself, but not in a way that necessarily is a typical way, a standard way. And we talk about neurotypical, don't we? So neurodivergent, maybe having a slightly alternative way to do it. Right, come here, my friend. So I just give an initial rather than, because I've got permission to use it, but I'm not going to necessarily say her name. But
no, absolutely.
So I'll start somewhere here. So sort of below is the resultant artwork for me. The image will mean nothing to you, but boy, does it mean a lot to me. I cleared a major blockade I have around being consistently capable, that I am a lucky loser and have been my entire life in work, love, friendships. I do not trust myself. And for the record, this belief was rooted in upbringing, not being praised at home, nothing ever being worthy of praise or love, and struggling in school, bullying, and so on. And two of the words that came through were amazing mum and adored for her. And she said, I won't bore the pants off you and talk you through all the words. Simply leave it here and say that if you're healing yourself from any trauma and are willing to have an open mind, then do get in touch. And the feedback she sent the next day was sort of, I feel amazing, actually do feel amazing. I feel sure of myself. something that is not a usual feeling for me. Very, very rarely. I'm stepping into my true self now. It really is time, and I can allow myself to trust myself. So
Oh, that's beautiful.
yeah, I feel like it taps into, for me, I'm not doing anything. I think I tried to say that before. This isn't about me. It's me holding the space and creating the vessel for you, for her to touch into places in themselves that are there, but they've been layered over with protection, or they've been forgotten, or they're only ever fleeting remembrances. And it's, you had remembering here as well. It was a really important last energy, I think.
Yes.
And it's helping people remember who they really are, and to tap into that inner strength and the space from which they can really thrive and do amazing work.
That's so great, so great. And I love the fact that it's words. As I love, obviously, as a writer, I love using words, but also I make a lot of collages and artwork, and I'm always putting words into that.
Right.
Just want the words to be there.
Yes.
So this is very valuable for me in that respect.
Yeah, exactly. And there's multiple uses for words, and we do get to a point sometimes, don't we, when words, you can't put something into words. That's the limitation of words. It's like, this is too it's too big an experience, or it's not almost like not a mundane experience. It is more, it's bigger than that. And so that's occasionally where the words fail us, and that's perhaps why the imagery of this is so important, because we aren't necessarily drawn to the letters anymore. We're drawn to, oh, that looks a bit like an animal, or this looks a bit like a face, or this reminds me of my inner strength. Whatever those sort of connections are, when the words sort of fade away, that symbology and the feelings that we connect to are still there.
Yeah, sure.
And I would love to know, like, is there a particular part of it you're drawn to, or is there a way that it makes you feel as you contemplate it?
Well, one of the things that really struck me was how much like a sort of spirit being it looks like. There is a character there. There is an absolute character there. But what I can see particularly is the way that the white splashed on the eyes. Which way do I go? Yeah. Has made it look like it's really looking at me. It's really, and I look at it, and there's no doubt at all that it's looking directly to my eyes. It's not looking anywhere else. And it's almost like it's saying, I remember you. Oh, I'm connecting to you. I remember you. I see you. That's very powerful. And then, there's the whole rib cage, feet, dancing feet, arms.
Just bring it in a little bit to you, because it's there. Yeah.
So there's so much to it. So much to it that I because I wanted to talk to you about it first. I haven't spent so much time with it, because I wanted to get a sense of, well, how do I use this? I don't want to go and do anything, but maybe I shouldn't do. But there is there's a very, very strong connection there, even as I look at it now. So, wow.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I think that's, in the creation of it, in a way, I am there and I'm not there, if that makes sense. It's sort of, there's a little Alex as possible that goes into it, because it's all about you and all about what it means to you. So again, I can make a couple of suggestions, but really at the end, it's how you feel about it. It's the work you do. It can be you talked about shamanic work, and we've done some, and I think we have that in common. And you could certainly do some divination with it, in terms of asking for shapes or symbols, putting a question to it. Have you ever done a rock divination before, or a stone divination?
Oh, yes.
So if you treat it a bit like that, so you ask 5 questions of it, ask the same question over and over, and look for a symbol, and then ask the symbol the question, and so on.
Right.
you could get quite an interesting source of information if that's what if you're ever drawn to that. It's not something you have to,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. No, I get it. There's lots of ways of asking questions, isn't there?
Yeah, exactly.
Wonderful. Well, I will frame it. I will put it on my desk, and I will explore further.
That would be great. And I'd love a photograph of the frame. I'm starting to collect all the framed Talisman photographs so I can make a mural of those, probably on my website as well.
I will do that. I will certainly do that for you. Absolutely. Alex, thank you so much. This has been quite the experience, and I know it's not finished yet. I know there's still more to unveil with this lovely image and the craft that you put into this and how it's developing. So
thank you very much.
Thank you for sharing this extra part of the podcast, so we get a completion. And it is a lovely thing that for anybody who is doing the work with you, that they do have something tangible, something like, say, a physical representation of the process. Not just talking heads, that we kind of so easily forget what we've talked about. It's like, this is something I can keep coming back to, keep reflecting on. And that's going to be really helpful.
It will always imbue the energy of the session, so that's lovely.
Great. Thank you so much, and good luck with your work, and I hope it touches others as much as it's touched me.
Amazing. Thanks, Caroline.